Madam Mayor, we are live and recording. You can begin whenever you wish.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Welcome everyone to our regular meeting on February 17th, a nice sunny afternoon. Before we begin, I just want to remind everybody that the meeting is going to be recorded and live streamed from the Township's YouTube channel. And we do have members who are participating from online as well as in the room. So council, as is always the case, please raise your hand if you want to speak on a matter. And also please be sure to turn on the microphone so that those watching from home can hear you clearly. So we'll now begin with calling the roll. We have regrets from Deputy Mayor Nelson. So we'll start with Councillor Watt, Councillor Johnston, myself, Heather Watson, and Councillor Landsman. Hello. Hi, and we have a number of staff joining us who will be introduced at the appropriate time. So with quorum of council in attendance, I'll call the meeting to order. And I'll begin with the land acknowledgement. And I apologize in advance, my getting over a bit of a cold, so I'll try and get through this. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the lands which are part of the 1818 Treaty 20 and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg bands of the Great Ojibwe Nation. We offer our gratitude to the Ojibwe for their care and knowledge of the lands on which we work, live, and enjoy. May we honor and respect their teaching and our treaty obligations as we grow together. And we'll just pause for a moment of silent reflection, please. Okay. Moving on, council, the agenda was distributed in advance of today's meeting. You would have had an opportunity to review it. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing nothing, just looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Councillor Landsman, seconded by Councillor Johnston. I'd just like to mention, I should have ahead of time, the clerk tipped me off that we're going to look to move item 10.4 key township events up to the top. Just to accommodate staff moving and coming and going. If that's okay with the person who made the motion and seconded it. So 10.4 will now become 10.1 and everything else will fall in. So all in favor? And that motion carries. On to the adoption of the minutes. We have one set of minutes in front of us, and that's for our regular council meeting on February 3rd. Just looking for a motion. Councillor Watt?
Moved.
Seconded by Councillor Landsman. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to consent, we have 4 items sitting on that portion of the agenda. Is there anything, council, that you would like to hold for discussion later on in the meeting? And if not, just looking for one motion to receive them all. Councillor Johnson moved to receive, seconded by Councillor Landsman. All in favor? And that motion carries. On to item 8.1, we do have a delegation from Ken Grady regarding I am really having tired with words today. Building permit fee refund request. If you want to make your way up to the lectern, Mr. Grady, you do have 10 minutes as a registered delegate to make your presentation. And I think the clerk's going to be using a new clock feature that we've installed so you can even keep track yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking this time to meet with me. I'm here, as you may or may not know, to ask for 100% of my building permit and septic permit fees to be returned for a grand total of $9,725. I paid for my building and septic permit in full on Friday, January 30th of this year. On Sunday, February 1st, I received the quote from my builder, and it was astronomically higher than we had discussed before or I had expected. I called the Douro-Dummer Township on Monday, February 2nd, and asked if the check had not been cashed already, that I could get that money back, because if I was going to build, I would need to make some extreme changes to my building plan. I was informed because Shane started to work on my permits that that would not be possible. As it looks right now, I cannot afford to build in the next year to 2 years. So in conclusion, I come asking for 100% of my permit fees that total $9,725 to be returned to me instead of 75%, because as the bylaw states, if someone starts to work on it, then I can only receive 75 and not the full 100. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Grady, I'll just ask that you stick around for another minute before you sit down, in case council has any questions of you specifically. Councillor Lansman? Your microphone, please.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm looking at your comment and it says you wrote a check for 79.75 and we're getting 75% back of 87.25. Is there a discrepancy there? Or does that include the
Yes, sorry. So it's the 750 was the septic permit. And then, so I guess 8975 was the building permit.
okay,
Yes.
got it. Thank you.
Council, any questions of our delegate before we entertain a motion or any discussion?
Yeah, I got a question to our treasurer. Now, she might know and might not know this question, but it was put in, and the next working day, he was going to say he wanted to hold on it, stop it. My question is that how much time would have the building department put into this? I guess that's my question, to be a fair question on they obviously opened up the the paperwork and started probably doing something. So I'm just wondering, would anybody know how much time that might have already been put into this?
Before I hand it over to CAO Davis, who looks like he may have an answer for us, I'm just going to ask that we stick questions to the presenter or delegate right now so that he can at least sit down and be comfortable, and then we can continue and ask staff with other questions. So are there any other questions of Mr. Grady? Seeing nothing further, thank you very much, sir. You can have a seat. We'll continue on the conversation here. CAO Davis.
Through the mayor to members of council. So as I couldn't give you an exact hour figure, but what I would suggest is that before we even collect the building permit fees, the building permit documents are submitted and they're reviewed or looked at for completeness so that we can actually move forward. So there would have been some time on the administrators from the administrator's perspective. And I'm not sure that we spent a ton of time from the plans review perspective, since it was certainly very early in that process. You know, an hour and a half maybe of staff time. Realistically, the challenge that we have is that the bylaw is the bylaw. And so staff do not have the arbitrary opportunity to sort of provide a full refund, because the bylaw is pretty specific. And we require council to give us direction in that instance, which is why we've asked Mr. Grady to attend today.
Okay, council, what would any further questions of staff?
I don't have any other questions. Sheila or Tom, do you have any comments, or I'm ready to make a motion if there's no other comments.
Councillor Watt.
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. Hour and a half. I know it's a small little amount in the big scheme of things. And it was, Friday to Monday kind of like that. So it was very, very quick coming back, stuff like that. I myself would be willing to make an exception to the bylaw and in this particular case, and either nothing or very, very small nominal fee. I don't know what an hourly fee would be worth for our building department, but even if it was $100, $150, kind of like that, I could live with something like that, but I don't see 25%, that's for sure.
Okay, so we don't have, I was gonna say, we don't have a motion on the floor. Just looking for any further questions or comments, Councillor Lansman? Okay, Councillor Johnston had expressed that he was prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
So Councillor Lansman, if that's okay, I'll defer that over to Councillor Johnston to make his motion.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that we change for this instance, to change that our bylaw there, and that we would charge for the fee of $300 for the work that has been done to date, and that he would refund the rest of the money.
Okay, does anyone want to second that motion? Sorry, I thought I saw somebody's hand up at the corner of my, okay. Counselor Lansman, are you seconding that?
Yes, I will second it.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Counselor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. And again, that's kind of where I was at. $300 is fine. I know, nowadays, nothing is cheap. Kind of guy, you go to a garage station, it's $130, $150, $180. Well, your dad would probably know that. But, so I mean, there is a little bit of time spent on it, but we're not here to gouge you and stuff like that. And to be quite honest with you, I think Councillor Johnson's $300 is pretty fair, if they did have to do a little bit on it in the preliminary. So I'm very happy to go with that if all the rest of council's in favor of that. And I see CEO Davis has something.
CEO Davis?
Through the chair to the members of council, just to be clear, we're not changing the bylaw. What we're doing is we're making an exception or an exemption from this particular bylaw. That's all.
Okay, great. Counselor Johnson?
And just to speak on the motion, I'm pretty sure that he'll be back wanting to build a house, and then we'll group it then. Thank you.
Fair enough. Any other discussion on the motion? It's been made and duly seconded. I'll call for the vote. Counselor Watt?
Sorry, just after CEO Davis's comment there, I just want to make sure that we are absolutely clear. We're not changing the bylaw. We're just making an exception to it with the mover and the seconder. And the clerk is good with that. Perfect. All right. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, and we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item number 9, which is our public comment period. We have nothing, nobody registered, so we'll skip over to staff reports. And as noted with the agenda, we're going to start with the key township events, which was 10.4, is now 10.1, just so council can have the right report in front of them. And Ms. Baldy's going to be presenting that, so over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Township of Douro-Dummer hosts several community events throughout the year, 3 of which have been identified by Mayor Watson as key events. These key events are the Douro Canada Day Parade, Warsaw Remembrance Day Ceremony, and Warsaw Santa Claus Parade. Prior to writing this report, staff met with event co-chairs and identified a few ways to improve events for the Douro-Dummer community. Firstly, to minimize community confusion and improve turnout, staff suggests that events are named to reflect the location of the event, such as Douro Canada Day Parade, Warsaw Remembrance Day Ceremony, and Warsaw Santa Claus Parade. Secondly, Remembrance Day Ceremony co-chairs have requested updates to the audio equipment to improve the experience for attendees. The updates would include speaker stands, microphone, wind blocks, and plastic microphone holders. These items would be used for all 3 key events to ensure the audio is clear and setup is uncomplicated. Thirdly, Santa Claus Parade co-chairs have identified 3 main areas for improvement for their event. Improvements are needed for the lighting in Millennium Park, more clear communication materials, including improved signage directing people to Millennium Park for the tree lighting, and improved signage at the Public Works Depot, ensuring the drivers understand the parade route. And third, need for more volunteers. Staff have also been asked through Council Resolution number 239-2025 to gather feedback from the Douro-Dummer community on key events. With council direction, staff will create a survey for community members to provide feedback on their events. In conclusion, for the continued success of these events, along with the suggestions made by co-chairs and staff, it is essential that council work to find volunteers for the events that they chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Ms. Baldy on her report from council? Councilor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for that detailed report, and I appreciate the staff taking time to sit with us chairs to discuss a couple things here and there that did come up. I just would like a little more clarity on what's going to go out to the public for questions, stuff like that. And I know one of the things that came up, not that I'm on that part of the committee, but with the parade route. So is that something that's going to be on there to see what people thought of that? Or I did hear rumors too that maybe that'll be a council thing come maybe May or June, kind of to decide what is going to be the route, and it'll stay at that for the upcoming future.
And Councilor, this is the Santa Claus Parade route, I'm assuming you mean? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would love to pass this question on to the clerk, as she's the one that often handles all of our permits for our road closures and that sort of thing. So I think that she'd be the best person to answer this question.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Watt. So there, I know it was a two-part question. So first part of the question was regarding the survey. So part of what Ava's report is asking is for direction from council as to whether you would like us to put a survey out and what you would like us to ask. So we would need direction from you or some ideas from you as to what you would like us to ask the public. As for the route of the Santa Claus parade, in the meetings that we had, we did have a discussion about the parade route because there was some confusion as to the parade route in 2025. And so the suggestion was that the route actually come to council in early spring to have council review it and make a decision. And then we would apply for permits based on that decision. This way we can ensure that everyone is in support of the decision made and we can apply for permits.
Thank you for that, Madam Clerk. Councillor Watt?
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I guess I would like to see a survey go out to the public and stuff like that. Plus it may make a more awareness on a couple of the, like we always get a really, really good turnout for the Remembrance Day one. It always goes very well. The school kids come and all that. I'm very, very happy with how it goes. The Santa Claus one and the Douro one, I think we could get some public input on that, even, and some helpers. I mean, putting the survey out may help us get, some volunteers and stuff like that. It's not that it's very long. I mean, the Santa Claus parade and the tree lighting maybe lasts an hour and a half, kind of like that. The Douro Canada Day parade, again, an hour and a half. It's not a long commitment, but we could really, really use the help. So I would say, number one with it, we could ask for volunteers. Number two, if anybody has any good ideas on how we could improve them, how we could change them, what we could do. I mean, we're always open to suggestions. So that would be the couple of things that I would have to say.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Baldy, I'm curious, as it relates to the feedback and the recommendation that's in your report, in the last sentence that council provide direction to staff regarding the creation of a survey to solicit feedback. So assuming council wants to move forward with some sort of survey, I'm assuming we've got, I don't know what the equivalent is, but bang the table or some software solution that's available for us to be able to do that easily through the website. You're effectively looking for questions from council that we want to potentially include on that. So would it be reasonable to ask that council get back in touch with you by, within a week's time or whatever that may be with a list of those questions? Should council decide to move forward with the survey?
Through you. Yes, I would be super open to that. Is like if council wants to call me on the phone or send me an email, I'm happy with any feedback. We can compile all of the suggestions together and find something that really encompasses all of the different portions of the event so that we can have something that's really comprehensive for the community. But yeah, I would really appreciate the input from council on what we include on the survey.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Johnston, did I see you motioning for your mic earlier?
Yeah, I just really want to echo that I'm in favor of the survey, but I really want to echo that it's a community event. And the more we can have come out to participate, it makes the community a better community. So I mean, I think that the thing is to get the message out that we do these things, and it's not just for the parade July for Douro or the Warsaw parade for Warsaw. It's the whole community. So I think that's where we need to let people know that we're running these things, and any feedback that they can have, we would like it for all means. So. Yeah, I think it's very important because it's a community event and we want to get the many people that can come out to these events makes our community much stronger. So I'm really supporting of that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lansman.
Thank you through you to Hiva. When are you thinking you would like this information back? I mean, are you looking at the next month or you just on an ongoing basis?
Through you, Mayor. I would appreciate it within the next 2 weeks. I think that would be fair. So then a 2-week period, then once we can review it within our department, then we can have it public on the public site for the community to fill out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, lots of good discussion. Counselor Watt, are you making a motion?
I am, yep, through you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a motion then that we do go ahead with the survey and that council submit in questions and comments that they would like to see on the survey. And I would think probably within the next month. I mean, it's not going to be long before the first one creeps up, which is the Canada Day one. I mean, it's almost the end of February here now. So we want to get, questions and comments in as quick as possible, say within the next 2 or 3 weeks, so that staff has time to put something together to bring back to council before the survey goes out. If you even have to come back to council, or whether it just goes out because we've saying here today, yes, we're going to go through with it. But my motion is yes, go ahead with it and get some questions and comments in.
Okay, so just to remind you, in the recommendation, Counselor, there is also direction, should you wish to include this in your motion, that we approve the purchase of a new AV system, items with a budget of $300, and I believe the report said it would come out of IT. So I just want to make sure, are you omitting that intentionally, or
I did think of that. I didn't know whether we wanted a separate one or whether incorporated. It doesn't really matter.
I think we can do it all as one.
All in one. All right. Well, then let's add that because it was me that brought it up that we need that stuff.
There we go. Okay, so, and then just to tie a little bow around this, can we say by February 3rd, like 2 weeks, I think is what Ms. Baldy said. This is just for council, or sorry, March 3rd. Thank you. Just jump in my time machine and go back in time 2 weeks. March 3rd in the motion, and then that will give us 2 weeks to respond. Councillor Johnston?
I'll make a motion, or I mean, I'll second that motion.
All right, great. So we've got a mover and a shaker. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. And thank you very much for your report, Ms. Baldy. On to item 10.1, which is now 10.2, the report and capital project status, and that is through CAO Davis.
I don't have anything to update it. Just take your questions. If you have any questions related to the status, happy to answer them.
Council, any questions on the report that's before you? Otherwise, we're just looking for a motion to receive, I believe. Everybody leaps ahead to find the right report.
Make a motion to receive the report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Landsman, are you? You look like you were about to say something, so I was just giving you a bit of room in case you were trying to find something on your screen.
I thought I had made a note there, but apparently I didn't. So no, I'm fine.
Would you like to second the motion?
Sure.
Thank
Yes,
you. So we have a motion to receive. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to 10.2, the 2025 Council Remuneration Statement, and that goes over to Ms. Grenier, who's joining us online. Hello, Ms. Grenier.
Good evening, Council.
Are you presenting your report, or are we just looking to have a discussion?
Oh, I'll present it.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm just calling it up. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, so through the mayor, this report is being brought forward to meet the township's annual reporting requirement under Section 284 of the Municipal Act. The reporting period in this report covers January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. As provided in accordance with the Township Bylaw 2022-37 regarding council remuneration. And the 2025 honorarium rates were $36,982.40 for the mayor, $28,038.40 for the deputy mayor, and councilors received $25,105.60. The honorarium covers all meetings, which includes council, committee, and board meetings, as well as all special functions and events. In addition to honorariums, benefits including township paid statutory amounts for CPP and EHT, as well as eligible health insurance premiums were paid. And then additional expenses were paid, including reimbursements and township paid costs related to conferences and travel for conferences. With respect to the Committee of Adjustment, non-council members receive $95 per meeting plus mileage in accordance with Resolution 143-2019. However, members may choose not to receive remuneration for meetings attended. And lastly, for the Otonabee Region Conservation Authority, Tom Watt received $130 in per diems from the Conservation Authority to attend 2 meetings. As required by the act, this statement is a public record. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Grenier. Council, any questions of our treasurer? Councillor Landsman.
Through you to the treasurer. Just curious, what, there's a deduction for benefits and a deduction for expenses. Could you explain those, please?
Can you clarify your question? A deduction? These are
Under council remuneration, there's the honorarium, benefits and expenses.
okay. So benefits, like when we're paying honorariums, we are required to remit statutory adjustments for Canada pension and for employer health tax. So that's on top of the remuneration. Those are just normal payroll taxes.
And then
And
the
then
expenses?
and the expenses are the expenses that are paid for council to attend conferences for the most part. So those would be the registration fees, the accommodations, and travel.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions from council on the report that's before you? I have but one, Ms. Grenier. Looking at the autonomy conservation report or letter, recognizing that Councillor Watt has only sat on that board for maybe, well, 2 meetings very recently. Should we not also be receiving something for Councillor Vervoort on this up until the first half, like including the first half 2025, who sat on that committee? And it looks like
Yes, we did receive a letter for Councillor Vervoort, but it was there were no remunerations for him for his time on that committee. So it was 0.
Okay, no, that's good. I just want to make sure that we're not omitting something that's a statutory obligation. So I appreciate that
Yeah.
clarification. Any other questions from council? Councillor Watt?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. With our honorarium that we get for council, it includes board meetings, all that kind of stuff. So, and maybe it did, but should the money I get from Orca come off my council pay? I wouldn't, that wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'm just asking that so that it's totally above board, because other boards, council doesn't get paid for. You know, like if someone's on the committee of adjustment or that type of thing. I know this is a separate board from township ones, but I'm just throwing it out there so it's totally transparent.
Okay, so Councillor Watt, are you?
I'm asking, should that $100 come off? So my question is, should that $130 come off of my council honorarium so that it's equal with everyone else that's on a committee that doesn't get any extra pay for it?
Understood. Ms. Grenier?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that refers to council meetings, council board meetings, council committee meetings. So any committee or meetings outside of council are excluded from our bylaw. So the remuneration covers those. Does that answer your question?
Councillor Watt?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just want, like I said, I
Okay.
just want to be, you know, if someone's on the committee of adjustment, and they don't get extra, but I'm on Orca
Right.
board, I do get extra. I just want to make sure there wasn't a conflict in there, that if that's the case, then it comes off my council remuneration. Like that wouldn't hurt my feelings. I just, like I say, just want to be upfront because I don't want somebody coming back and saying, oh, well, you did, you know, the scenario. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
Councillor
you're
Watt. Any other questions on the report? And if not, I'd be looking for a motion to receive. Councillor Johnston, a motion to receive? Thank you. Councillor Watt will second that. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to 10.3, request to retain Baker Tilly for the 2025 audit. And Ms. Grenier, back over to you.
Hey, through you, Madam Mayor. This report is being brought forward to address the township's external audit appointment for the 2025 audit year. The purpose of this report is to request council's approval to appoint Baker Tilly for a 1-year term to complete the corporation's 2025 year-end audit. Section 296(3) of the Municipal Act provides that an auditor of a municipality shall not be appointed for a term exceeding 5 years. This means that council must ensure the auditor's appointment term does not exceed 5 years, and therefore council must make a new appointment decision at least every 5 years, or more frequently if a shorter term is used. There is nothing in the legislation that states that council must appoint a different auditor every 5 years or every so often. So remaining with Baker Tilly for the 2025 would not be a contravention of the act. At this time, staff are recommending a 1-year appointment for 2025 to maintain continuity and reduce transition risk for the 2025 audit year, support timely completion of the year-end audited financial statements and any related filings, and allow staff time to prepare and run a competitive RFP for the next term. So it is our intention to prepare an RFP for the 2027 audit and maybe up to 5 years with that appointment. This approach is intended to keep the township compliant and also ensure best value and transparency in the longer term selection. If council approves the 1-year appointment for 2025, staff will initiate an RFP process for external audit services for the next term. The resulting appointment recommendation will be brought back to council with the proposed term of up to 5 years, ensuring continued compliance with the act and aligned with the township's procurement requirements. Thanks, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Graney. I just want to clarify, you said something, and maybe I heard you incorrectly, that staff would be preparing an RFP so that it would, a new auditor or whomever the proponent would be in place for 2027. Did you mean for 2026 is your plan, or for 2027?
Yes, I did mean
I may have
26.
heard
Thank you so
incorrectly.
much. You are correct.
Struggle calling this year 2026. So it's
Yeah.
confusing. Councillor Johnston.
Yes, my question is that I presume that we hiring them for 1 more year, that they've only been in line now for 4 years. Am I right to presume that?
At this point, I am just requesting approval for 1 year, and that's for the 2025 audit. What happened in the past, I'm not exactly sure of.
Well, my question is that if we said it can only be for 5 years, therefore, if they've been there for 5 years, then we can't do that. The way I read it. So why I'm asking is that have they been there now for 4 years? That this will be the 5th year?
I have CAO Davis to respond.
Through the mayor to Councillor Johnson, I believe, I mean, I can't, my experience with in the township is certainly longer than the treasurer's, but much shorter than the years of auditing that we've done. As I understand it, Baker Tilly is a longtime auditor of the township, and the deputy CAO may have more information to provide, but I believe that they have that the current appointment was for 5 years, expires at the end of 2025 with the 2024 audit. So the treasurer is seeking a reappointment of the same auditor for a shorter term of 1 year with a request that this happen so that she and then would prepare a competitive RFP process for a future 5-year term to go to market. That doesn't necessarily mean that the most competitive bid would be different than the current auditor. I just want to be very clear and upfront that if we were to go to market either this year or next for the 2026 for 5 years, we may end up with the most competitive bid coming from the current organization that's providing audit services. The Municipal Act doesn't mean that we say that we have to change the organization that's doing the audit. What it says is we can't appoint an auditor for longer than 5 years consecutively without a subsequent reappointment. I don't know if that clarifies things or makes it even more confusing.
No, a few points you made out I didn't know, but it's still no. I would like to know is we're asking for 1 year, so it's 5 years up for what they've been there now. Then therefore that's why we're asking for the 1 year. The way you read it.
Through the chair to Councillor Johnson, as I understand it, yes, our 5 years is up and we're asking for a 1 year reappointment.
Any other questions from council of staff on the matter? Okay, well, we'll be looking for a motion then. Council, what would you like to do?
I'll make a motion that we that we hire them for the 1-year term. And that in 2026, we go back out for a 5-year term.
Councillor Lansman? Your microphone, please.
I'm slow learner. So through you back to Councillor Johnson, you're saying 1 year and then look for somebody for 5 years, starting with 2026. Okay, thank you. Yes, I would second that.
Okay, any discussion on the motion?
And the 1 year is for 2025.
Any discussion on the motion? Before I call the vote, I'll speak to this one. I don't support the motion, to be honest. I know that, I don't know, to answer your question, Councillor Johnston, how long we've been working with Baker Tilly. But I do know that we've been working with them since well before this term of council. Just from my own time on council, I know we were working with them last term as well. And the conversations that I had had with staff, with, our acting treasurer, as well as our former CAO, in looking at the treasurer, or pardon me, the auditor, was that we would be, because we were a little bit behind on the financial statements, having continuity to get us caught up would have been really important to have, because we were trying to build momentum. And even, I know last year we had 2.5 audits done. I think the third one is forthcoming. We're just waiting on that last bit of getting them here. And that after we got caught up, that we would be going to RFP. And I believe staff have sat in these chambers and said, we're going to be going to RFP on this, as early as early 2026. So I personally fully would have expected that we would go to an RFP. I think it's good governance. And I understand the nuance that Ms. Grenier is speaking about in terms of the Municipal Act and our requirements, but even just to ensure that we're getting the most competitive rate from providers out there, we should be going to market on it to make sure we're getting the best value for dollar. And this is, fundamentally at the heart of what we do as elected officials sitting at this table, is making sure that we make good governance decisions, and having an auditor and going through a proper process, to me, is the apple pie and ice cream that goes with that. So I can't support the motion, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. Councillor Watt.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So legislative wise, where are we with doing this 1-year thing? That's kind of where I'm getting not the warm and fuzzies. Like, so if we have 4, Stacy has an answer for that. So then I'll continue on after. Thank you.
Ms. Grenier, speaking to the legislation, please.
Yes, speaking to the legislation, the maximum requirement is 5 years. So we can do the 5 years or less. It does not have to be. And the request is really to help us still catch up, because we're still trying to do a 2024 audit, and now we're deep into 2025. And there have been some, I don't know how to put this, some changes that happened that didn't happen. So we're a little bit behind already with 2025. So it would just help us catch up before going into an RFP for a new auditor and keep the continuity, because switching, if we did end up switching to a new auditor, there's a lot more time involved with working with a new auditor than working with one that's already familiar with your business.
Councillor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So I guess my next question would have been, do we just go for an RFP for 1 year, or do we do another 5 right now if we do go into this RFP situation?
About CAO Davis.
I don't want to speak on behalf of the treasurer. I mean, certainly the treasurer's please speak, but I would suggest that if we were to move to an RFP immediately, we would seek the maximum amount of term on that, so that we would try to minimize, recognize that it would be a lot of upfront work. I wouldn't want to go for a 1-year contract, go RFP for a 1-year contract to then have to do it again next year and potentially onboard a third new auditor at that time.
Counselor Watt, did you have other questions?
No, no other questions, just comment that, yeah, like, I kind of feel we can do it, but on the other side of it, I don't think we should do it, kind of like that. So it's kind of one of those catch-22 situations that, and I like to be totally comfortable with, so, I guess we'll see how the vote goes.
And Counselor Lance, I saw your hand up. Yep.
Thank you. Through you to the treasurer. What is the status of the 2025 audit right now?
The status of the 2025 audit is that there have been some working papers already submitted and prepared as requested from Baker Tilly. So in a sense, it already has started. Those working papers are available to whomever would need them. And the 2024 audit is still incomplete too, as we're waiting on one outstanding item.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, just to make a comment, okay, we're going to look at some point for a new audit firm. I probably wouldn't be in favor of having a new audit firm come in halfway through or partway through what's been done already. I just think it might be better for somebody who knows the corporation to be finishing something. That's just my thought.
Thank you, Counselor Landsman. Any other discussion on the motion? I'll just speak back to that point, Counselor Landsman. You know, in Baker Tilly or any other vendor that we work with, knowing that they're working towards the end of a contract or when they're about to begin a new contract, what they invest in doing work for us prior to that contract being signed is what I see as a sunk cost for them. So, you know, I think that I expect that they would have gone into that eyes wide open, knowing that they may or may not be working on the 2025 audit. And that part of that work is needed in order to close off the 2024 like properly as well. So I don't have any sympathy or heart for that type of argument, because they, you know, if they really were interested in protecting their time, their space, their professional hours, then they would have insisted that we had some sort of signed agreement before moving forward. So that's how I would address that. I've got Councillor Landsman and then Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, I'm speaking in favor of it.
Sorry, Councillor Johnston. I acknowledged Councillor Landsman first. to
Oh,
speak
I'm
before
sorry,
you.
I thought you were done.
No,
Sorry, I was only going to say thank you.
fair enough. I just knew that you were about ready to say something. So Councillor Johnston, sorry, over to you.
As I say, I'm in favor of it. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been behind and well behind, and we're catching up. And I think we're just about there. So I would like them to see that for a 1-year term, that they do that to get caught up, and then we can start fresh again.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Seeing nothing further, I will call for the vote and I'll ask that it be a recorded vote.
Through Madam Mayor, would you like me to review the motion that's on the floor as part of that recorded vote?
That would be great. Thank you.
So the motion that's before you, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Landsman, is that the report dated February 17th, 2026, regarding a request to retain Baker Tilly for the 2025 audit be received, and that Council agreed to retain Baker Tilly as the Township of Douro-Dummer external auditor to complete the 2025 year-end financial audit and financial information return required submissions, and that an RFP for a 5-year term be released in 2026. I will call for the positions for the recorded vote. Dummer Ward Councillor, how do you vote? Douro Ward.
Yes.
Douro Ward Councillor,
In favor?
Councillor at Large,
In favor.
Mayor.
Not in favor.
The vote passes. It is carried.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Okay, moving on. Of course, we skipped item 10.4, or not skipped it, pardon me. We addressed that at the top of the agenda. So on to item 10.5, the procurement report for the Douro Arena floor replacement project, and that goes over to CAO Davis, please.
Through the mayor to members of council, just wanted to bring forward the procurement report. Recognize, first of all, that this is traditionally a finance department's job to bring the procurement report. I supported the treasurer this week. She had a couple of reports on her own agenda that she needed to bring forward to council. And so I had the luxury of writing this one for you. I think it's an exciting time. And just to give you an update as to where we're at. As you recall, we applied for and were successful through the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund for some funding to replace the arena floor or the ice surface floor at the Douro Community Center. That project was initiated in late summer of this year. In terms of procurement, we procured a design and engineering firm to oversee the structural design features that were necessary to develop what needed to be done, as well as to manage our procurement of our tendering of this project. That work was awarded in August or July, maybe, if I recall, or August of this year. We brought back and then we we developed the design that was necessary, went to market, and this report is to award the tendered contract for the arena floor replacement project to the construction firm that provided the first compliant bid, Garrett Construction, in the total of $1,815,000. I would note that they're not the lowest bid that we received. However, they are the first compliant bid. One of the requirements of the tendering process that we required as a township was that the bidders needed to demonstrate significant related experience. They needed to be able to show the township through their tendering that they had already completed 3 of these projects within the last 5 years. The first compliant bid to do that is Garrett Construction. And so that is why we are recommending that they come forward. I wanted to remind you of a couple of things. We had a report come forward in late 2025 related to the refrigeration equipment necessary, and recognizing that it was subject potentially to tariff costs. And so we were able to lock in prices for the refrigerated equipment earlier in the year, and that total was $340,000. That is included as a cash allowance as part of this bid. So every bidder had to include the $340,000 in their bid. So that's not in addition to, it is actually included in the $1.8 million award that I'm asking for. I'm asking you to make tonight. Overall, Garrett's bid was found to be completely compliant with all the requirements of the tendering process. We did receive a number of questions from bidders in the marketplace. I think I reflect that we had over 30 suppliers registered through bids and tenders. We had a number of questions, and part of the correspondence was related to experience. We were very clear with everybody that put their name forward or made those inquiries that we required this level of experience, so it wouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And quite frankly, we probably had some firms not bid on this project because they didn't have the requisite experience that we were requiring. Finally, as I look at what the cost of the project would be, we also asked for some additional items to be quoted as part of the bidding process, just to make sure we had maximized the grant. And one of the things that came in was light replacement over the ice surface. I understand that the lighting at the Douro Community Center over the ice surface in particular is not particularly effective. And so we were looking to update that as well as part of this process, and certainly as part of the grant. The light replacement comes in at $54,000 for this project. And when I do the math of the project itself, recognizing that the total project cost was $2.1 million. We did not, based on the way that the property was engineering, and I want to address that as well. I apologize for not dealing with this earlier. We had incorporated or anticipated putting in some heated flooring as well as part of this process. When the engineer actually did the work to do the engineer drawings, what was discovered is we are unable to accommodate heated flooring based on the way that the current community center and arena floors is constructed. And so that was removed from the process. And the original project was priced at $2.4 million. $300,000 was earmarked in the original project development for heated floors. So those funds were removed from the project itself. And so the real project cost as we move forward was $2.1 million. If you look at the financial impact portion I lay out where the costs have been incurred or accrued, we have $97,000 for the engineering consultant contract, which was awarded through the proper procurement process at council, $22,000 in building permit fees, $1.815 million for the construction contractor, brings our total project cost to date is to $1,934,000. I do recognize that the project enjoys $1 million of funding from the province at 50% up to $2 million. And so in order to maximize the amount of money in the grant, we're encouraging council to include the $54,000 in additional lighting, which gets the total project cost at this stage to $1,988,000. So we're under just under $2 million and $112,000 under the project, the original project quote. Certainly that does not count for cost overruns at this stage, but I'm very proud that we were able to bring a project in under budget, at least from the tendering stage, and look to maximize that grant. That's my summary of this procurement. Happy to take any questions you might have. I think the last thing I would add is that we are eager to sign the construction firm. We've reserved our space to start the work, and the project is set to kick off on April 15th of this year and be completed within the time frame as required. Happy to take any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, CEO Davis. Councillor Johnston.
The question I have was that we were granted up to $1 million, being half of what the project cost. Now, we're saying the original was 2.4 million. Is that right? Because then the million really isn't really half. That's why I'm going to ask that question first.
Sure. So through the mayor to Councillor Johnson. So yes, the original project proposal when we went forward for the grant, we projected a $2.4 million project. When we received the money, so we didn't ask for just $1 million, just to be clear, from the province. We asked for 50% of that project, so we asked for $1.2 million. The province came back and granted us $1 million to the project. So realistically, when we went through this project, or when we started talking about this project last year, the costs from our reserves would have if the full cost of the project was to be realized at $2.4 million, $1 million would come from the province, $1.4 million would have had to come from our reserves. When the project we were unable to do the heated floors, we didn't just look for other things to add. Just to be clear, what we did is we downsized that project to $2.1 million, which was more realistic based on what we were going to accomplish. And then the reality is the province, from the funding perspective, they give us 50% of the cost up to $2 million. Everything over $2 million is to be borne 100% by the township.
Thank you. And through the chair, my other question is, and I don't know if you're able to do this or not, but can you tell the public, roughly speaking, knowing what we're allotted this year for this, where we stand on any monies that we've got set aside already for this project? Do we have anything set aside?
Through the mayor to Councillor Johnson, all $1.1 million from the township side has already been set aside in a reserve. So there is no, it's part of the, of our reserve it will be drawn from our reserve funds as was indicated in the budget process.
All right, just to let the people know that. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Seeing nothing further, just looking for a motion. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to make a motion that we follow the recommendation and include the lighting in the proposal. And let's get this job done because this arena is, both arenas are for our residents and kids. So we need them.
Anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Landsman? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to item 10.6, the Arena Facilities Future Ad Hoc Committee Terms of Reference. CEO Davis.
Thank you, Mayor Watson. To the members of council, my report that I'm bringing forward today is related to the Arena Township Arena Facilities Future Ad Hoc Committee. As part of the process of procurement and this project, when we had the design prepared with our engineer in late fall of this year, we asked to have a meeting of that ad hoc committee. We met with that group and discussed the changes to the arena floor and how that project was going to roll out, just so that recognizing that the Arena Ad Hoc Committee is significantly populated by leadership from Douro Minor Hockey. We wanted to make sure that they were aware as soon as possible and as on board with what the proposal for the project and the time frame was. As a offside or offshoot of that meeting, one of the topics that came up was the current terms of reference for that committee, and it was recognized that those terms of reference, as is attached to this report, are significantly out of date. And so the second portion of that meeting that was to discuss updating those terms of reference to include changes to and so they asked staff to go away and update our terms of reference, and that is precisely what we've done and what I'm presenting to you today. What I would highlight is there are two significant areas of change that are substantial, and then there are a number of administrative changes that are less so. Realistically, the areas that I think are most important for council to recognize is a change to the purpose and function of that group. What you will recognize if you look at the review the current or the original terms of reference, it was all predicated around developing doing some studies related to the both the Douro and Warsaw arenas, and that they were to come to council in 2023 with some budgetary requests and some direction. I couldn't tell you what the complete outcome of that was. However, what I do recognize is that we're well beyond 2023, and so those are no longer relevant. What we are proposing is that we charge this committee to develop a project proposal to determine funding and determine some funding to initiate either an appropriate feasibility study or a possible master planning activity for both townships recreation facilities, including but not limited to the Douro Community Center and the Warsaw Arena. We're asking for that to come forward in a timely enough fashion to hit next term of council, probably for the 2028 budget, potentially even for the 2027 budget. And that should this project be developed by the committee members and supported by council, that this group would then oversee that as the steering committee with representation. The second area that we're asking for some changes is in the committee makeup or the membership of the committee. So there was a number of things in the original terms of reference that we wanted to make a few subtle changes to. One, when we list the community members, we included staff, and we wanted to make sure that it was very clear in the terms of reference that staff were moved away. We are not members of a committee. We are resources to the committee. And so we wanted to define that in the definitions as to what staff sit on that committee as resources to the membership. And then also born from the conversation we had with the current committee members in the terms of reference, what they recognized is that they were all representative of one user group in particular, they're representative of the same many of them representative of the same organization. And then what they suggested is that if we were going to do some work around the futures of those facilities, we needed to take into consideration other user groups. And so really what we're recommending in a change of terms of reference is that we include new members from the local community representing the variety of groups that use our facilities, such as seniors, dry floor users, and community event holders. And then the rest of the changes, I would argue, are administrative in nature, but certainly happy to take any questions, comments, or concerns you may have at this time.
Thank you, CAO Davis. Council, over to you. Any questions? Councillor Lansman.
Thank you. Through you to the CAO. Just two comments, and I think it's very good because I did read the older version. Item 4.2, the chair is responsible for ensuring the effective operation. Specific duties include but are not limited to. Should it include that they are continually providing reports to council? I mean, I know that's a given, but it just doesn't say it. That's just one question. And the other one was item 7. Meetings shall be scheduled at the call of the chair. Is there a minimum term for the chair? Or is the chair's there till he or she leaves?
CAO Davis.
Through the mayor to Councilor Landsman. So first and foremost, we can include language in the terms of reference that suggests that the chair report regularly to council after the meeting. Just as an aside, we have a staff resource that takes these meetings as because would be a committee of council would be minuted. And so those minutes will appear in front of council at any given time or after the meeting for you to review and ask any relevant questions. Secondarily, the way that the committee has been set up or has been established in the past, and we haven't asked to change that at this stage, is that the chair is the member of council that's appointed. So if you had any questions with regards to the minutes, that individual would be in the meeting to answer those questions as well. As terms of term of the chairpersonship, the chair would be in place for the term of council or however long the appointment lasted, based on the appointment by this council, and then would be required by a future council.
Thank you. Council, any other questions? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Not a question, more a comment. And I'm sure there'll be people take this the wrong way, and I'm not suggesting that I'm whatever. But because we have an arena in each ward, I wonder if we should have make sure we have representation from each ward. Like, so the 4 members of the local committee, 2 from the Douro ward, 2 from the Dummer ward. I don't know. It's just because we have an arena on both sides. I think that would be fair.
I'm happy to respond to that through the mayor to Councillor Watt. That's a great idea. We're not opposed to that at all. We're happy to ensure that we want to make sure that we had representation across user groups, but I also recognize that we should have representation across wards as well. So that's not an issue.
Councillor Johnson.
The only comment I got is that now the meetings that we would be having, were they open to the public?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Johnson. Yes, all committee meetings of council are open to the public. The agendas are posted online well in advance. They're held in public locations such as the arena or the township office, so public would be able to join if they wanted to.
Councillor Watt.
Okay, just a question to the clerk CAO, deputy CEO. But same as a council meeting, they're only there to observe. There's no speaking up, whatever, they're just there to observe only.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Watt. That's correct. If the committee decided to hold like a public meeting as part of their meeting, then they could have people attend and and speak as part of that public meeting, though there is language in the terms of reference about engagement and how engagement should take place. So that would be planned well in advance. But such as a council meeting, there wouldn't be comments from the floor just popping up. They would either have to sign up as a delegation or be asked to represent a certain issue or topic.
Any other questions from council? I have a couple then, CAO Davis. My memory's not that great these days. I think this committee was originally established in 21 or 22. And I believe it was at the time somehow loosely linked to the Craft Hockeyville competition that happened. And there was some money that was set aside that was either Hockeyville money or minor hockey money or a combination, I think, of township money also. Can you easily give a sense as to what money there was and whose money was whose, and if there's any money left over in that group? Cute.
Through the mayor, to members of council and the mayor. So just to talk about the sort of the way that my research into this committee, what it suggests to me is that yes, this committee is an offshoot of our successful bid to the Craft Hockeyville program. At least the committee may have existed ad hoc with no terms of reference, but the earliest I can find reference for terms of reference for this committee would be April 2022. We went to market an appointed membership to that committee in May of 2022, so a month later. And then they convened their first meeting in early August of 2022. And then regarding the funding or how the funding worked, if I look back at a report, I believe we had a report come forward in October of 2022 that was related to the Craft Hockeyville money. And really what that said is that the community benefited from Craft Hockeyville to the tune of $35,000. $10,000 was provided to Douro Minor Hockey specifically for Douro Minor Hockey decision, equipment needs, and for them to do with as they chose. $25,000 was provided to the township for facility upgrades, so physical upgrades to the facilities. This committee, after meeting, came forward with a request for council that the township match the request was that the township first match the $25,000 that was provided to support the work of that committee. To which council did support that request, and I believe it was included in the 2023 budget, if I'm not mistaken. Can I get to the spending part of it now? The work of that committee was not substantial after 2023. The $25,000 that was provided by the township or earmarked by the township, say, to support the work of that committee, because they didn't do a ton of work after that time frame. That money was unspent and remains in reserves eligible for the committee to spend, or a funding source for the committee. They don't have, if you review the terms of reference, they don't have the ability to make that decision. They can make a recommendation to council as to how they spend those dollars. The $25,000 that we actually received from Craft Hockeyville for actual work or facility improvement at the request of Douro Minor Hockey. The request came forward to council for new nets, hockey nets at both the Douro and Warsaw community centers, as well. At the time, the women's change room had chairs. First of all, the women's change room is a little bit different. They were just using temporary chairs, and so they asked for those chairs to be more permanent benches put into those rooms. And council supported that through the capital budget process, and that work was completed. I don't have an exact figure. I just didn't have the ability. I don't really have it off the top of my head, but as I recall, the nets and that work cost somewhere in the neighborhood between $10,000 and $15,000. So there remains at least $10,000, potentially between $10,000 and $15,000. I can get a more firm figure for a future meeting if you so desire. But that money also exists in reserve, but needs to be spent on facility upgrade work in particular. Hopefully that answers all of your questions. Or that, no, that set of questions today.
It does answer those, and I would appreciate the net difference of that. As I understand it, there's $25,000 that's in reserves that was earmarked by council. But that 25,000 for facility upgrades, if we could maybe just send a note as a follow-up to council to let us know what money remains. And then just to be clear, so that came from the Craft Hockeyville involvement. So if anybody wants to direct or request additional funds, whatever's remaining, that would effectively need to come through Douro Minor Hockey to council.
From the mayor back to the mayor, yeah, I believe that would be the most prudent move. Certainly, because it's Craft Hockeyville money, I would be reticent, and wouldn't, I would be less supportive of us spending that money than on the Douro South Park as an example. I think it should go into the hockey arena facilities, and we would look to our partners at Douro Minor Hockey to provide suggestions to council. They might make the request of staff, and staff would bring a report to council with their support as to where those funds would be spent.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, just looking for a motion then. Council, what would you like to do? Councilor Watt.
I'll make a motion to receive and accept the updated terms of reference.
And does anyone want to second that? Councilor Johnston will second that. I'm just pulling up the original recommendation here. So as written, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Where are we? I've like scribbled all over my agenda. We're on item number 11 now. We've got a few sets of minutes. We'll start with the Douro-Dummer Public Library Board meeting from January of 2026. Just looking for a motion on that, council.
Make a motion to receive.
Councilor Johnson making a motion to receive. Councilor Lansman will second that. All in favor? That motion carries. And then we've got 3 sets of minutes from the Peterborough County LPP Detachment Board that we'd be looking to receive. We can do all 3 in one. Councilor Watt, seconded by Councilor Lansman. Councilor Watt with a comment.
Any comments, questions, surprises that we should be aware of from that, or is everything going pretty smooth so far?
Thank you, Councilor,
And congratulations for becoming the chair.
thank you. That's probably the most, that's the newsiest news. At our inaugural meeting, we held elections for chair and vice chair, and I was acclaimed as chair with John Braybrook being acclaimed as vice chair. Outside of that, these 3 meetings were, the October 27th meeting was a regular board meeting. We did receive a presentation from Chris Kowalik, interestingly enough, and Sheridan Graham, the CAO with the county, about the community safety and well-being plan, which then has kind of subsequently come back to councils, and we're going to be piggybacking with the rest of them. So that was kind of the catalyst for that. November 17th was around the recruitment process because we have appointed 3 community members, and I'm proud to say that one of the 3 community appointees is a resident of Douro-Dummer Township. And we also have a provincial appointee who is a member of the township. So the township's well represented. And then the January 5th meeting was to approve the action plan that there was a working committee part of to set us on a track for the next little bit. So otherwise, nothing notable. The next meeting is scheduled for April 27th, I believe, off the top of my head. So we do have a motion that's been made and seconded. All in favor? That motion carries. And then on to correspondence, item 12.1, the town of Plimpton, Wyoming. I love getting these because it just makes me realize how big the province is when you see these things. What would you like to do with this one, Council? Councilor Watt and then Councilor Johnston.
Motion to receive and support.
Councilor Johnson, is that the same? You'll second that? Any discussion on the motion? Other than it's a very important initiative, I'm well in support. All in favor? And that motion carries. On to 12.2, the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors. We have a letter and draft motion regarding municipal public works workers facing escalating threats on the job. And I believe this was mostly discussed during our committee of the whole last week with our manager of public works, Councillor Johnson.
I'll make a motion to receive and support.
And Councillor Landsman, are you seconding that? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that carries. On to item 12.3, a letter from Peter Leahy regarding Phragmites management programs and other matters. Just what would you like to do with that? Councillor Johnston's got his mic lit up
Oh, Mike's still on.
still, or?
Well, number one, I'll make a motion to receive with thanks for the work that Peter has done in this project. It's, you know, he's very adamant that we do not do any spraying, and I think we all have supported that in the past and will continue supporting that. And again, thanks for the work he's done on it.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Watt will second that motion. Any discussion? Councillor Landsman, just with your microphone, please.
Nail it to my head. Sorry. I just had a couple of comments about the Phragmites of some information that I found out, and I wondered if it would be an idea to present some of them.
Sure, if you wanted to reference some of the information, for sure.
Thank you.
Like, you mean present now, right? Like, you're not like,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you through you to everybody who's here or interested. This is just a few things that I found out from various areas. One being the concern by the county and Kawartha Land Trust. And I had occasion to speak with Terry Reese of Kawartha Land Trust and the invasive species area. And they're very concerned about it, and it is not something that is going to be dumped on the township. They're not going to, they're aware that our township did not go in on the group, and they will not just walk into the township and or drive in and spray it or anything like that. Everything has to be done with somebody's permission. And contractors who will be spraying, wherever this happens to be, whether it's done with backpacks or big sprayers on trucks and things like that, they must be licensed, and they have to control what they can by keeping on the property that they're supposed to be on, and they have license. And if they're working for somebody else, they have to have that person's permission. And there's was a information that came to me, and I've made a copy of it. I don't know if anybody was, I didn't make lots of copies. I made one. I didn't know if anybody was interested in it, but it's about the removal of Phragmites, and the different ways to do it. And then there's more reference on this other sheet. And it's not going to go away, and it is invasive. And yeah, I think it's something that's important to keep track of. But just so you understand, you're not going to be, if you say you don't want your property sprayed, it's not going to be sprayed. So.
Unfortunately not, sir. Councillor Landsman, just to clarify, the removal of Phragmites information that you were able to obtain, that's removal by other means than spraying, right? Like actually digging it up or cutting it off or whatever
They have various, to reply to you, they have different approaches, and the best practice, according to this report, is integrated approach with chemical and mechanical is most effective. The next one is cut to drown. But if you're working under the water, you cut below 15 inches below, and hopefully that will do it. Spading, that's more a manual method for small patches. And then the other one's tarping, smothering and tarping it. That's a long-term thing, because if you cut it off, put plastic over it, and put the plastic further out than where the plants are, then you have to nail the plastic down and leave it for 2 years. And then it says, talks about proper disposal being crucial, restoring and monitoring and what not to do. And it gives some timeframes.
Okay, I appreciate that additional information. I would ask that whatever those resources are, like in the email that you received. I know that we had made a motion as council that recognizing the importance of keeping our sightlines clear,
Mhm.
right, at intersections and along the roadways. It may be necessary to remove phragmites by means other than spraying. So it would be helpful for our staff, and I think we'd ask staff to look into what those best practices are for removal. So if you've got that resource to share with.
I did make a copy for
For-
council's records if they want it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so we do have a motion that's on the floor that's been made and duly seconded. Councillor Johnson?
Your comment. We all got Peter Leahy's, what he put down on paper here before our meeting. And I guess as we read it, there is some concerns there, and I'm sure Peter would want to spell them out.
Mhm.
But in our message there, it says how the spraying was done at the county buildings, right across the road from where he has his organic wheat crop. And I guess his concern, of course, is that if the contamination would follow and come across his road onto the wheat, he'd have a big concern. And I guess, like we can never lose sight of that. I know he left very upset because he probably wanted to speak on his own property, and rightly so. So we've got it here and be on record that we received his form here, and I just want that to know that there could be something down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate that. We did also have the ability for public to come and speak on items that are on the agenda formally and register, and they had until today to do that. So that is an option, but I appreciate your comments as well and the awareness of that. Councillor Watt, final comment before we call the vote.
Thank you. Just one quick comment. We also, and it's gone around since our last meeting, so I got, we have control over our township roads. We don't have control over what the county does. So if the county does in the future decide to do something in our township, that's something that the residents or the people have to take up with the county, not with us, because we have already said we're not doing it on township roads. We're not going to support this project with money.
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And that motion carries. Moving on to item 13, we have no bylaws, no reports derived from previous notice of motions. Are there any notice of motion? Seeing nothing, Councillor Johnson?
I don't have a notice of motion, but along the same line, I really want to thank Douro Knights of Columbus and the Warsaw Lions for the free skating they had on Family Day. There was 80 people to come out and participate and skated and got free hot chocolate and hot dog. So I really want to say a thanks for those two committees for the simple reason, again, it's a big asset for our community. Just once again, bringing people closer together and the price was right. There was no charge to it. So I want to say thanks to those two committees.
Wonderful. Thank you for recognizing that, Councillor. It sounds like it was a fantastic event. Well attended, and thank you for your work involved with that as well, because I believe you're a little tied to those organizations. Are there any other announcements? Seeing nothing further, we do have a closed session, folks. So this is the part where we get to ask you to please leave while we go into closed session. And the clerk will ready the room and stop the streaming. Do the motion to head into close first, and then we'll recess while I prepare everything. Sure. So we'll take the motion to go into close. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Johnston. All in favor? And that motion carries. And the reason, sorry, just to be clear, the motion, the reason for the closed session is section 239(3) of the Municipal Act, item B, an ongoing investigation respecting the municipality, a local board, or municipality controlled corporation by the ombudsman appointed under the Ombudsman Act. an ombudsman referred to in section 233.13 of the Act, or the investigator referred to in subsection 239.2. So that was the motion to go into closed for that reason. Okay, was that it? Madam Clerk, we're good? I've got the motion. All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. And we'll wait 5 minutes for the clerk to get us set up.